सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः पराङ्मुखं नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीम् ॐ. We were looking at verse number 10 and the commentary to it on page number 9. In the middle of the page, एतादृशस्य पुंसः सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासेन परवैराग्यापरपर्यायं योगारूढत्वं सिद्धमेव मन्तव्यम्. In this verse, Adi Shankaracharya had said that in order to escape from bhava bandha, the bondage of samsara, one must give up, renounce all karma, sannyasta sarvakarmani, and must strive for Atma Abhyasam, or the constant practice of contemplation of the self, Atma Vichara, self inquiry. And he had said that the individuals who are qualified for that must be Panditas and they must be Dhiras. Now, the word Pandita, Jagadguru Srimad Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal had commented as those that have a paroksha jnanam or an indirect knowledge of the self. That is, they know that there is a self, but they don't know what it is. So they are shastrajnas in the sense that they have learnt from shastra of the existence of a self, but they have not cognized it directly. They don't have that direct experience. Not only must they be shastrajna, they should also be dhiraha. And dhiraha, essentially, Jagadguru Srimad Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal had commented on as those who have control over their senses and their mind. And therefore, those who are possessed with a mind that they are then able to direct towards self inquiry, that combined with the shastric knowledge of the self, when such an individual performs Atma Vichara, then he will be able to escape the bondage of samsara, because such an Atma Vichara will lead to the rise of Jnana. Acharya then quoted from the Panchadashi to explain what Atma Abhyasa or self inquiry means. And essentially, there, Jagadguru Srimad Vidyaranya Mahaswamigal had said, Tat Chintanam, Tat Kathanam, Anyonyam, Tat Prabodhanam, Etadeka Parattvamcha Brahmabhyasam Vidurbudaha. That is, one must constantly contemplate upon Brahman, must constantly speak of Brahman, must constantly discuss it with their co-students, their co-seekers, must be focused on Brahman as their sole aim in life. That is called Brahma Abhyasam or self-inquiry. And then he had gone on to discuss the nature of Nididhyasanam, which is a very beautiful definition. He defines it as Vijatiya Pratyaya Tiraskrita Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha Rupa Nididhyasana Anushtanena Yatyatam. That is, Nididhyasanam essentially means the cultivation of a pratyaya or a flow of thought which does not contain any contrarian information. And by contrarian information is anything which is contrary to the teaching of the Shruti about the nature of the Atma. The Shruti says that you, the self, are immortal, you are without limits, you are beyond hunger and thirst, you are the nature of consciousness. Whereas in daily life, we feel that we are hungry, we are thirsty, we are limited, we are in trouble, we are tall, fat, short, blind. All those non self's attributes we take upon ourselves. So, in Nididhyasanam, one carefully avoids those contrarian thoughts and cultivates those thoughts, encourages those thoughts which are in the direction of what the Shruti is teaching. That I am immortal, I am limitless, I am the nature of consciousness, I am the nature of bliss. that the world is an appearance in me. I am not something which appears in the world, etc. etc. After that, we looked at the sentence today. एतादृशस्य पुंसः सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासेन परवैराग्यापरपर्यायं योगारूढत्वं सिद्धमेव मन्तव्यम्. So, etadrishasya pumsaha, that is such an individual, such a person who has renounced all karmas, who is a pandita, who has a shastric knowledge of the self, is a shastragya, who is a dhira, whose intellect is firmly in his control, who is constantly engaged in atma abhyasam. Such a person, sarva sankalpa sanyasena, by the renunciation of the sankalpa or even the motivation for action, paravairagya paraparyayam yoga rudatvam. Yoga rudatvam, which is synonymous with absolute detachment, siddhameva mantavyam, it must be understood that for such a person, yoga rudatvam is attained certainly. This definition of yoga rudatvam or paravairagya aparaparyayam occurred in the previous verse also. The same definition is repeated here. Now, here it was said that in order to gain the knowledge of the self and escape the bondage of samsara, it is necessary for one to give up action, the desires that motivate the action, and therefore sarva karma sannyasa was prescribed for those who are interested in the jnana marga. Now, the Acharya raises a potential objection in this case. Now, in the Karma Kanda, there are various prescriptions that have been given that say that one must perform various Vaidika and Smartha Karma, Shrauta Smartha Karma, that is, Vedic rituals that have been outlined in the Shruti, the Vedas, and the Smritis. So, for example, the Agnihotra ritual or the Sandhyavandanam ritual, which have to be performed every day without fail. And there are specific Shruti injunctions which say that as long as one is alive, one must perform these rituals. So, if the view of Advaita is that moksha is only possible through jnana, which must be preceded by sarvakarma sannyasa or the renunciation of all karma, that would directly contradict the injunctions of the scriptures. So, therefore, what the Advaitins are saying is contrarian to the view of the Karmakanda. This is the objection that Purva Mimamsaka may bring up. In fact, apart from Advaita Vedanta, all other philosophies, be it Vishishtadvaitam, Vaitam, etc., necessarily require the performance of karma also, Vaidika karma also. At no point do they accept that Vaidika karma can be given up. It is only Advaita Vedanta which says that moksha requires sarva karma sannyasa or all karmas to be given up. And therefore, all the various other schools of philosophy turn around and can make a charge against Advaita, saying that what you are saying is contrarian to the view of the Shastra, the view of the Veda. That objection is being presented here. ननु यावज्जीवम् अग्निहोत्रं जुहुयात् यावज्जीवं दर्शपूर्णमासाभ्यां यजेत अहरः सन्ध्याम् उपासीत कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीविषेत् शतकं समाः इत्यादि श्रुतिभिः यावज्जीवं कर्मणः कर्तव्यत्वेन चोदितत्वात् सर्वकर्मसन्न्यासे श्रुत्युल्लङ्घनं प्रसज्येत इति चेत् तासां श्रुतीनाम् अशुद्धचित्तविषयत्वात्. So the opponent is saying Yavat Jivam Agnihotram Juhyat. There is an injunction saying that Yavat Jivam, as long as one is alive, one must perform the Agnihotra sacrifice. Similarly, Yavat Jivam Darshapurnamasa Abhyam Yajeta. As long as one is alive, one must perform the sacrifice on the Darsha, which is the Amavasya, and Purnamasa, which is the Purnima. So both on the new moon and the full moon, there is a specific sacrifice that has been enjoined in the scriptures called the Darsapurnamasa sacrifice, which happens every fortnight. The Agnihotra has to be performed every day. So the Nitya Karma does not mean that it necessarily is a daily activity, What it means is that when it is supposed to be performed, it must be performed. And it is not because of some particular nimittam. Like, so for example, if there is the occurrence of a particular nimitta, like say an eclipse, certain rituals have to be performed. Some tarpana has to be performed, dana has to be performed, etc. That is called a naimittika karma because it is subject to the arrival of a particular nimittam or an external event. So when that event occurs, this particular karma has to be performed. So that's called a naimittika karma. A nitya karma is a karma that has to be performed regularly without fail. So, in the case of Agnihotra, it has to be performed daily. In the case of the Darshapurnamasa sacrifice, it has to be performed when the Amavasya and when the Purnima happens. Similarly, Aharaha Sandhyam Upasita. There's another Chodana or a injunction to say every day one must perform the Sandhya Vandanam. Aharaha. The fact that it says Ahaha means day. Aharaha means daily. Daily one must perform the Sandhya Vandanam, Trikala Sandhya Vandanam. So just before sunrise, exactly at noon, and just after sunset, daily Sandhya Vandanam has to be performed without fail. Similarly, in the Ishavasya Upanishad, it says Kurvanneveha Karmani Jijivishet Shatakam Samaha. So one must perform actions here. That is mean Iha means in this earth, in this Karma Bhumi, one must continue to perform actions, karmani, the rituals that have been outlined in the Vedas, and live for 100 years. Jijivishet Shatakam Samaha. So as long as one is alive, because when it doesn't say that you have to live for 100 years, because the Veda also knows that is how long one lives is not under one's control. So when you say Shatakam Samaha, in Shastra, the lifespan of a human being is given as 100 years. And therefore, when it says Kurvaneveha Karmani Jivishet Shatakam Samaha, it means that for as long as one is alive, and in the Shastras it is supposed to be 100 years. So for 100 years, one must perform these actions without fail. That is what the Ishavasya Upanishad is saying. So the opponent is saying, Ityadi Shrutibihi Yavad Karmanaha Kartavyatena Choditatvat. These kind of Shruti statements enjoin, require the performance of rituals Yavad as long as one is alive. And therefore, Sarvakarma Sanyase Shrutullanganam Prasajjeta. So, if the Advaita Vedantin says that one must give up all karma, Sarvakarma Sanyasa, then it will lead to Shrutullanganam. It would lead to contradicting or refusing to follow the instructions of the Shruti. And therefore, the Advaita Vedantin, who claims that his entire basis is Shruti Pramana, he himself is invalidating what the Shruti is saying. He is refusing to accept what the Shruti is saying. This is the charge. Iti chet, if that is the argument, Jagadguru Srimad Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal is giving the answer, the refutation for that argument. Tasam Shrutinam Ashuddha Chitta Vishayatvat. Those Shrutis are directed to individuals who are not ready to enter Jnanam yet. They are meant for those with Ashuddha Chittam, that is, those with impure minds. And by implication, impure minds means those who have not elevated their minds to pursue Jnana Marga. The unique feature of Sanatana Dharma is Adhikari Bhedam. That is, the Shruti recognizes that there are candidates of different intellectual, spiritual capability and maturity. Therefore, it does not propose a one size fits all policy. That is why you have Varnashrama Bheda. That is why you have Jnanakanda, Karmakanda Bheda. Because the instructions of the Karmakanda, the rituals, have been directed to those whose main focus in life is the first three Purusharthas. It is Dharma, Artha, and Kama. Those who desire those three Purusharthas for their benefit, the Shruti is enjoining various rituals which will lead to the performer earning dharma, earning artha, earning kama, meaning they achieve their desires, they earn wealth, they accrue punya by the performance of these rituals. So, if someone wants these things, three things, they have to perform. However, those whose entire focus is on moksha, liberation and liberation alone, who have changed their worldview such that their only motivation in life is liberation, for them, the Shruti does not enjoin the performance of Agnihotra ritual or Sandhya Vandanam or any such ritual. Now, we have to be very careful here. Now, we are not saying that every individual who is in the Jnana Marga must give up all these rituals immediately when he wants to start the Jnana Marga. And the reason for that is because even amongst the students who are in Jnana Marga, there is a difference. Some people are so spiritually advanced that they can survive without performing rituals at all. By purely jnana, they can essentially carry on their lives. However, there are others who cannot do so, who still require the infrastructure of grihastha brahmacharya vanaprastha. So, those who have formally taken up sannyasa in order to pursue jnanam exclusively, they are permitted to drop all the injunctions. But those grihasthashramis or brahmacharis in the Jnanamarga, they must still continue performing all the rituals that have been enjoined for their ashrama. Now, renunciation of action is a necessary condition for jnana. That is absolutely true. However, that renunciation of action is permitted only if it is formally taken up. One is not permitted to have their feet in two camps. One cannot say, I need to have all the infrastructural benefits of Grihastha while trying to get jnana. That one is not permitted. Therefore, one must have jnana and only jnana as their sole focus in life. And if that is their sole focus in life, such individuals who have such an exalted vairagyam or absolute detachment are permitted to give up actions, give up external actions, and then carry on. Those who are unable to give up external actions because they still harbor desire for the results of those actions, they are not permitted or qualified to enter jnana. And they therefore must continue performing their rituals. However, there's a third category also, those who do not have desires for the benefits of the karma, but due to some external circumstances, they are not able to take up sannyasa ashrama formally. So, because they have a desire for liberation but no desire for the benefits of the infrastructure of grihastha and they are only continuing the grihastha because of external circumstances, they are candidates for jnana sadhana, they are candidates for jnana marga, provided they have internally renounced this notion of doership. But even such individuals must continue to perform karma. However, internally they must have renounced the notion of doership. They are performing the karma not for their benefit, they are performing karma for the world's benefit, for loka sangraham. And the words they are performing also is not a reality for them. When their body continues to perform actions, their attitude is the body is performing action, the mind is performing actions. They don't say, I am performing these actions also. So, to summarize the discussion, the injunctions in the Veda are meant for the Varna to which those instructions apply. If one belongs to the sannyasashrama, has formally taken up sannyasashrama, those injunctions do not apply to him. So there is no Shruti Ullanghanam or the charge that was mentioned by the opponent of contradicting what the Veda is saying does not apply because it is the Veda that has created the scope for sannyasashrama in which no rituals are required. In order for someone to be eligible for jnana, there must be sarvakarma sannyasa, but the importance there, the necessary condition there is an internal sarvakarma sannyasa. The notion of doership should be given up. The sense that I am doing something, I am performing these rituals should be given up. The desire for the benefit of the rituals must be given up. So that is the necessary precondition for jnana. Whether that individual belongs to the grihastha or brahmacharya ashrama or sannyasa ashrama, that internal renunciation is absolutely a must. However, if one has also taken up an external renunciation, an external sannyasa, then for such an individual, there is no Shruti Ullanghanam, there is no requirement for such an individual to perform those actions. But everybody who has not taken up sannyasa formally must continue to perform the actions. That is a necessity. Because if they don't, then they would be going against the tenets of the Veda. Continuing, अत एव एवं त्वयि नान्यथेतोऽस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे इति ईशावास्यमन्त्रेण नरे नरमात्र अभिमानी त्वयि इतः कर्मकरणात् अन्यथा अन्यो मार्गः कर्मलेपाभावप्रयोजकः नास्ति इत्युक्तम्. So Acharya here is quoting the second line of the same mantra that was quoted by the Purva Pakshi. The second mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad says, Evam tvayi nanyatho no karma lipyate nare. So Acharya is saying, by Nara or man, what is meant is a Nara Abhimani, the individual who considers himself to be a man, that is, he who does not know that he is the self, or an ignorant individual. For him, there is no other option but to perform karma. So the pravritti marga is absolutely necessary for such an individual. Now, the performance of those karmas will mean that no papam or sin will attach to the individual. Now, the performance of the nitya karma, what it does is that the prarabdha papam, the sin that will normally accrue to individuals due to prarabdha, that sin is warded off. Now the Purva Mimamsaka say that by the performance of Nitya Karma, nothing happens. But the failure to perform the Nitya Karma will lead to the accrual of sin. Now in Advaita Vedanta, we don't agree because we do not agree that the failure to perform something will accrue sin, because that means the abhava will lead to bhava, meaning the absence of karma will lead to the accrual of bhava rupa papam or an existential sin. That is not what we accept, because something which is non-existent cannot lead to an existent result. So what we say in Advaita Vedanta is that it's not the failure to perform karma that leads to sin accruing. What we say is that the performance of nitya karma wards off the papa that is released from prarabdha. Once we take a human body, we continue to experience the results of prarabdha on a daily basis. Those results can be good if it's a punya, and those results can be bad if papa results are being faced. The performance of nitya karma helps us to ward off the effects of papa that are manifesting as prarabdha karma. So the non-performance of karma does not produce a new papa, rather, if the karma had been performed, then the papa would have been avoided. Because the karma has not been performed, one faces the effect of papa. It is not a new papa that is born. That is what we say in Advaita Vedanta. That is the interpretation. So anyway, that is a slight detour. Coming back to the statement made by the Acharya here, Acharya is saying that no sin will attach to the individual because he is being performing those karmas. But the implication is that it is meant for or directed towards the Nara Abhimani, the one who considers himself to be a human being. That is one who does not have knowledge of the self. So the Kurvanneveha Karmani Jijivishet Shatakum Samaha of the first line of the mantra is directed to a Nara, an individual who considers himself to be a human being, and not to a Jnani who knows that he is the Atma, that is beyond action. So the Upanishad says, for the one who considers himself to be a Nara, there is no option but to perform karma. However, if he does not consider himself to be a human being, even though there is a human body, like Vamadeva Rishi, he is not bound by the scriptures to perform karma just because there is a human body that he's attached to. Anyway, with that, we will pause today's session and we'll take up the rest of the Vyakhya in the next session. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti